What's up, listeners? Thanks for tuning in today. Just a reminder to you guys, you can go listen to this episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube if you want to watch the full video there. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Same handle at Settle Down Media. And enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the weekend one. I can't talk, but weekend one recap. Zooch and Wilde of March Madness. Welcome back, everybody. If you're new, we're glad to have you. If you're not, what a weekend of basketball. Zooch, that was awesome. That was an
That
awesome
was
week
great.
we just watched. Yeah, it was awesome. We got a great we're gonna talk a little bit about last weekend, see about what upcoming matchups are awesome in this next Sweet 16 Elite 8. I feel like it's like the perfect amount of maybe Cinderella to like non-Cinderella. Maybe we could have
Yeah.
used like one more 11 seed, like if New Mexico would have won. But either way, we got a great breakdown. And if you're watching on YouTube, Zooch and I both look like we are both about to call the shittiest Tuesday night Maction game of all time with our headsets on. We look like we both are about to call Toledo versus Northern Illinois in 28-degree weather, and there's 1,000 people at the game, and the game ends on like an intercepted Hail Mary.
Yeah. Both teams are like at this point, what, 3-6, 3-7, something like that.
Yeah, but it's like the shittiest Maction you can think of. But Zooch, I just want to get like, what are your first impressions of last weekend's March Madness games?
UConn is really, really, really good.
UConn is
Just
good.
dominant.
UConn is really, really good. Danny Hurley is like one of those coaches that he gets upset for nothing, and I love
Yeah.
it. Did you see him flip out? Danny Hurley had a chance to become basketball Saban. Because did you see him flipping out when they were down like 40? Or they were up 40 on Wagner?
Yeah.
Like, this guy's a psychopath. Like, Danny Hurley is a psychopath.
Yeah, he has to be. I mean, I guess it works, but he has to chill a little bit, I would think, eventually. But maybe he chills when they haven't even been close to like losing a tournament game in what, 9 tries now or something like that?
It's
8
something like
tries?
that. And also, shout out everyone who's picked in the Zooch and Wild bracket. Thank you if you've signed up. I just took a check of the leaderboard. Uh, all the first four just have UConn. So it's probably going to be one of you guys who chose UConn who are going to win. Speaking of my bracket stinks.
Mine does too. It's bad.
I think I'm in the 30th percentile in the country. But yeah, my first initial thoughts were everyone in the year where everyone thought there was going to be a ton of upsets. When you look at the Sweet 16, there's what, maybe two surprise teams that you're surprised are there? NC
Yeah, and it
State and
was
Clemson.
well,
That's probably
especially
it.
everyone said that West region was gonna be like the upset region, and I think it's like 1, 2, 3, 5 or something like that is
Hmm.
what's left out of that region. So, and then all
Yeah.
the 1 seeds are still left, which is a little. I guess I mean it's not surprising because they're 1 seeds, but usually I feel like at least one loses that 8-9 matchup. But really, only Houston was even close. Like UNC won by like they trailed for a little bit, but ended up winning pretty easily. UConn was up like 20 at
That was.
halftime,
Hmm.
and then Purdue won by like 52. So
Yeah. Speaking on Purdue, so we'll get to more Cinderellas later, but let's talk about the anti-Cinderella, Zach Edey. I love watching people who hadn't watched Zach Edey all year get their first taste of Zach Edey. Like
he's a
this
mutant.
weekend, and they just go, it's almost like, when you're playing at, like, I mean, both Such, you and I mean, you went to a much smaller high school than I did, but it's not like I went to some hotbed of like basketball. I think now it is like a hotbed of basketball, but not like the crazy basketball, like where there's NBA players getting pumped out like these academies. He's literally like if there was just like some 7-foot kid at like a Joe Schmo high school in the middle of America, and like no one can stop him. That's essentially what Zach Edey is. And for everyone who thought that the refereeing was going to change from the Big Ten to the tournament, it's not. He's still getting every call, and it's infuriating. But I think every tournament you have to, for there to be a hero, there has to be a villain, and I do think Purdue fits that villain role well this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, out of all, like, I don't really see anyone who dislikes UConn. I don't really know anyone who dislikes UNC. And then Houston, I feel like everyone is kind of hoping they win because they've been relatively close like the past like 5 seasons or whatever it is. I was looking it up the other day, and they have made the Sweet 16 every year, won Final Four and Elite Eight. So that's kind of who I hope ends up winning it is Houston, just because they've been so close. And
Lord forgive me. Lord forgive me. I'm back to believing in Houston. I have chosen Houston, I think, the last 3 years straight. And last year, 2 years ago, they did me really well, almost won me a bracket. Last year, not so much. But this year, we're back on the Houston train. The Cougs, Kelvin Sampson, we're all about it. Another train that America hopped on, I guess that's my segue of sorts, is the Jack Golke train from
yeah,
Oakland, the upset of the century, or at least the tournament. Two things coming out of that game. One, Big Blue Nation was not happy with Cal, as he
no.
is now the running joke has turned into a reality where Cal is now officially on the hot seat.
Oh, they
I
just
saw
announced a few minutes ago he's coming back for next year.
Yeah, Zooch. But before I talk about the next one, you did some recon for us in Kentucky Sports Radio in their Twitter Spaces and just a deep dive into their message boards. What is Big Blue Nation thinking right now?
They all like love Cal, but also are ready to see him. Like and I like Cal, but you cannot be at Kentucky and have like 2 of 3 seasons where you lose to St. Peter's and Oakland, especially like I mean that side of the like if they had beaten Oakland, they would have gotten NC State, and I mean good
Hmm.
for NC State. They're in the Sweet 16, but that's what you're kind of hoping for if you're that 3 seed is like we get the 11,
Hmm.
and
That's
they
definitely
just
what they're
couldn't.
thinking. It's
Like I mean NC State played him so much, and he still had like 9 threes or whatever. He had 7 threes in that NC State game, but that man like just cover that guy. Like there's no reason you shouldn't be able to
Golke.
put a defender on him to
Yeah,
like every once in a
Golke
while he's
was
going to get
created
open,
in a
but
March Madness lab where it's just
yeah,
like, let's just get the white guy who's not going to play in the NBA or like might play his way into like a G League 2-way contract in 1 month. Jack Golke, I guarantee you, Jack Golke gets an NBA like combine invite now just
yep,
from that. 100%. But it's like he was created in a March Madness lab. Like there's literally a Jack Golke every year. 2 years ago was Doug Eater. You just got to find a white guy who can shoot threes. I guess that's what the country wants to see.
to see is
But
the
it was a
Golkinator.
crazy game. But there was not a lot on the crazy game side. I wouldn't say there was a ton of crazy games. I did feel like it was just overall kind of solid basketball.
Yeah,
It was pretty good. But look, the March Madness is great.
and I
I
feel
I
like too,
I plopped on my butt and watched hoops for 50 hours probably this weekend.
part of March Madness is like when a team like Oakland or St. Peter's or Loyola Chicago has a run like that. It like obviously the run usually ends, but it feels like they are talked about for like the next decade. Like the
Hmm.
Loyola Chicago one was like 5 or
Yeah,
6 years. Like that one was a while ago, but people
yeah.
still like
People still talk about the Florida Gulf Coast, and I think they only went to the Sweet 16. Like, I guess that's
right,
like a far run, but it's not like these deep runs. That's why I think St. Peter's is kind of crazy because they made the Elite Eight. St. Peter's.
right. Yeah, that one was nuts.
That one was nuts against Zach Edey and the fellas. But it was a lot of great basketball this weekend. Zooch, any non-basketball related moments you saw this weekend that were funny to you? Besides Big Blue going absolutely bonkers. Oh, I guess like the Mountain West failed again. We have to talk about the Mountain West failing. We have to talk. They failed again,
You
and it for how loud Mountain West Twitter is. And look, I'm a part of it. It was almost shockingly quiet this weekend. They were almost like, and they got lucky because most of the national attention was, haha, look at how bad the SEC is. So I feel like the Mountain West got off easy. Thank
I'll,
God for Mountain West fans.
I'll put it to you this way. So you had Boise State lose their first game. Colorado State beat Virginia and lost to Texas. Nevada blew like a 25-point lead.
Had them in the Elite Eight. They failed.
Yes, Utah State,
Steve
but
Alford failure.
right, New Mexico got killed. Basically, like that game was never really close.
Richard Pitino failure.
And he's the number one candidate at Louisville right now.
Take him. Oh my gosh, that'd be great. Oh, oh please, we
There,
need Patino at Louisville. Do
if
you
he
know
got them
the
good,
memes that were created?
I would almost have to go if he got Louisville good, and we got like a 4-5 matchup with Louisville St. John's in the tournament. That
I
would
th-
be
I
perfect.
think that break. I honestly think that break viewership records, especially just being like East Coast. Also, don't rule it out because Jamal Mashburn did just enter the transfer portal like yesterday or today or this week. Whenever the show is going to be released, he's in the transfer portal. So like you could bring a Mashburn to Louisville. The thing with Louisville is like they suck though. None,
Yeah, they're
not to get off track from the March Madness. Like Louisville is a complete overhaul program. So
it's
they're
bad. It's
bad.
bad for the
The Cardinals.
Louisville, the Cardinal.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but the Mountain West stunk again. The SEC stunk too, which is a
Yeah,
little
but the thing is,
surprising.
like, and I was surprised by the SEC too, but they still have 2 teams in the Like, yes, they stunk, but they still got 2 teams in the Sweet
That's
16
true.
who look like pretty good. Like Tennessee didn't shoot well, and Alabama is like yin and yang in terms of how
I
they
think
play. But I mean, one of the 2 teams from the Mountain West that got to the second round, I get they were playing Purdue, but you lost like yes, Purdue is good. They should not be beating you by 40 points or 39 points, whatever it was.
yeah, it's interesting, and the bummer for the Mountain West is if Nevada wins that game, it probably is completely different.
Yeah.
And that's the bummer. Or if Boise State wins their first game, it like all they needed was one more win. But the bad Boise showing, um, and honestly, if Colorado State, let's say Seton Hall is that first four in instead of Virginia, I think if Colorado State beats a Seton Hall team, people are like, all right. But
Right.
it's almost like people are like, you're expected to beat Virginia, Colorado State. Like, of
They're
course you should.
horrible.
Yeah, Virginia was horrible. That was bad. That was some of the worst basketball I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Um, it was, but yeah. Anything else on last weekend that stuck out to you, man?
not particular. I mean, like I enjoyed it, but it was so hard. Like not that I didn't enjoy it, but after Boise State lost, it's just like so
Hmm.
tough. Like waking up that next day and trying to be excited when you're just like, oh,
It is tough. No, it is like the classic, like when your team is in the tournament, it you are so tunnel visioned. I couldn't even focus. I think probably missed so much like great content that morning. I woke up that morning after the Boise State loss, man. I wasn't expecting it to hit me as hard. Similar feelings to the Niners Super Bowl. Like I just felt so distraught. I was like, I'm not like I was like, we're not even in it. Like we don't even get our logo on the bracket. Oh well.
no,
Maybe
3 in a
next
row.
year. Maybe
Yeah,
next
that's what
year.
they.
Danny Sprinkle. We got Leon again, baby. We got one more chance to run it back. We literally have one more chance to run it back, or else there will be a bomb dropped in not an actual bomb. Don't okay. A symbolic bomb to blow up the program, probably.
Well,
Or
and that's
maybe
the
a
thing
semi
is
bomb.
like,
Yeah.
and I like Leon, and I'll be short with this, but next year I believe is year 15. Boise State is not an Oakland in terms of like resources and stuff they get for basketball. Like by year 15 at a program like Boise State, you should have won a tournament game. Not that he hasn't been good. He's been really good here. Wins 20 games all the time, all that
Mhm.
stuff. Like we've had decent players, blah blah blah, but it is fair for fans to ask questions after 15 years if you haven't won a single tournament game. Now,
And
I'm
it's a
not
bummer
saying
because
like
I
he's
do
won
think
one, but
he's
like
a
to me,
good coach.
there is a huge difference between if we went to Oakland and the guy won the first tournament game and he's been there 40 years. I'll be like, okay, we go to. I didn't even know they existed until this, like when
Not
they got
even
in the
from
tournament.
Oakland. They're from
Right.
Michigan.
Exactly. So you were what? Like that school in Michigan is definitely smaller than Michigan State, probably the directional school. So you're like what, 6 or 7 probably in terms of
Mhm.
relevance. Like you have by year 15, you need to have one tournament win.
And it's a
You need to
bummer
have more,
because
but
I do think it's kind of holding him back in the eyes of like the country as great coaches. And it's also, I think, selfishly for him, that one win is holding back other opportunities that look, I don't know if he wants to go. I think he's every public thing I've seen of Leon Rice is that he loves Boise and Boise loves him. I think Leon Rice is a great person and a great coach. Like,
Right.
don't get that mistaken. But that tournament loss, that tournament win missing from his resume, I do think has probably kept bigger schools with larger budgets that could give him more money from reaching out. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I don't think it's not fair to say uh, Washington if Washington gives Leon Rice higher priority if Leon had a Sweet 16 appearance or something like that. But I don't know. Enough about me rambling on about Boise State. Enough about me rambling on about Boise State. You got any more rambling about Boise State, or should we
Nope. I
actually
said
dive
my
into like some
piece.
breakdowns? We've said our piece. Well, thanks for bearing with us, non Boise State fans. But we are gonna hop into breaking down this week's Sweet 16 matchups, and we got some great ones. Like I said, I think it's like the perfect mix of we got the one Cinderella, NC State. DJ Burns is a monster, man. DJ Burns is a monster, dude, and I cannot wait to keep watching DJ Burns, man.
They also tried to set him up with that ice cream delivery.
Yes, that was not okay. That was like, in what world? You know what? Chris Christie was right, I think, in this one quote where he said, "Fat people are the last people in this country where you could actively discriminate against, like on camera, and not get in trouble." They that is like you gave the fat guy ice cream. Are you kidding me?
Right.
That's like you gave the fat guy ice cream. Oh my goodness. That's like giving the a super skinny guy, if you're just like, yeah, I'm just gonna assume you're a vegan. Here's like a kale salad. And the guy's like, no, I actually like eating like burgers and stuff. It's essentially the same thing. It's like
Yeah.
me. It's essentially like me if I won that in a way, and they're like, "Oh, your name's Diego. Oh, like here's some tacos. You must just love tacos after." Like it's like, what are we doing, man?
He immediately gave it away too. That's what killed
Yeah.
me.
I loved his part of my take interview where they ask him about it, and he just goes, "I'm going to keep my comments to myself about that."
Because they even said they did you dirty with the ice cream.
Yeah,
He's like,
they
yeah,
did
I'm
him
gonna
dirty with
keep
the
my
ice cream.
comments to myself. And that he owns vending machines. I had no clue that this man
Yeah,
owned a vending machine.
this man owns vending machines. Isn't that wild? That man must have saw like the Instagram reels of like the guys like, I make $120 a week with my vending machines, and like you know, just putting like Mountain Dew and Diet Dr. Pepper. You need
That was
Diet Dr.
great.
Pepper in a vending machine. You need it. All right. Well, let's just honestly get into the game that he's playing in. If I can find it. Here, yeah, NC State versus Marquette. You got DJ Burns versus Shaka Smart and Kolek. I do think that Marquette has the upper hand. Although NC State does seem team of destiny, and Marquette, out of all the two seeds, I mean, I would want to play either Marquette or Iowa State.
Ed should also, speaking of this game and things that need to be stopped, they need to stop with the eating memes on DJ Burns, and they need to stop with the can't read and write memes
Yeah,
with the Marquette guy.
Kolek.
Yeah.
That has to stop. The school had to step in. This man, honestly, the meme got so bad where when I first read it like a month ago, I thought it was real. I was like, oh my gosh, like he failed too many classes. But no, it's just mean Big East fans being mean. So
Yeah.
you have to stop being mean Big East
It
fans,
was
or else the
between
ghost of John Fanta will come for you.
there was 3 memes this weekend that needed to be stopped, and I'm still seeing them. It's DJ Burns, Kolek, and the Puff Daddy memes. The Puff Daddy memes are top of the list.
Not even basketball related. Those need to stop.
Right.
Puff Daddy needs to stop. Speaking of famous rappers, did you know Master P's kid's going to Houston next year? I believe Mercy Miller.
I mean, Houston is really interesting. I was like, just have you ever? I don't even know. It's almost like not a maze, but like I guess you could call it a deep dive of. Have you ever like gone on Wikipedia or something and you're like looking at a certain like say you're looking at like this year's Boise State team or like from 2018 and you're like, oh, like we played them in the offseason. I don't remember that. And you click on that and like 2.5 hours later, you're like, okay, how did I end up on, Shaka, like you end up getting like Shaka Smart or like and college basketball is the worst with it because coaches coach it's so many like there's in college football head coaching wise, I would say maybe you might go FCS to a small FBS to like a kind of a premier type-ish
hmm
program. But in college basketball, like I was looking up not Ralph Sampson, what's the
Kelvin
Houston coach?
Sampson.
Kelvin Sampson, yeah. I was like, this dude coached at like Washington State, Oklahoma, Indiana,
hmm
and now and I was just like looking at the
College
history.
basketball is a little like NHL, where these coaches just seem to bounce around before people are like, "All right, we're done with you." And like
You're
the
on like your
NFL, it's
eighth
like if you
team.
or at NFL or college football, it's like you mess up like one time, like you're lucky if you get another shot.
Yeah,
Like Lane
exactly.
Kiffin is lucky that he's gotten this Ole Miss shot after the USC shot, and it essentially took him like 8 years of crawling back. And
Right.
that's
And
like
it's
one of the ones that works.
I was like looking up with Kelvin Sampson. I was like, dang, when he came to because I don't ever remember really hearing about like you would hear about like the '80s Houston,
hmm
like Slamma Jamma, all that stuff. But I was like wondering last night. I was like, I wonder like what Houston was like before like he got there, and it was like bad. Like I had no idea
Bad,
Clyde
bad.
Drexler was one of their head coaches at one time, and it was like,
Clyde the Glide was coaching.
yeah. And he basically when he came there said, okay, I'll become the coach or whatever. Because I want to say he was like an assistant with the Rockets or something. And they're like,
Mhm.
hey, like come coach us. And he basically said, okay, but he got him like a multi hundreds of millions of dollars to upgrade like the facilities and the arena. And then I was just reading about him. So it's interesting to see how bad they went to now they're like a perennial, like you said, almost every year they have a high percentage of people picking them for the national title, I guess.
Definitely. And speaking of planned perennial programs, they got Duke on the 29th. How do you think that game's going to go?
I honestly think they're gonna beat Duke by like 15. I
Ooh, what's the spread on that game?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Look it up. If so, you're
I'll look it up
saying if
real
this,
quick. Let's see
I
here.
also think Houston's going to win. Um, I think they are just too quick, and I don't know. I feel like Duke's that weird team that I feel like they just kind of linger now.
So
Like
it's
they need.
Houston 4 and a
I
half.
I don't think Duke has fully embraced just being hated. Although I've said it, if once they flip that switch, I feel like Duke can become the '90s Duke again. They have all the pieces together.
Oh yeah,
They can become '90s Duke if they would just embrace being hated.
right, just do it. Everyone already hates you anyway, so just
hmm
like Christian Leitner said, okay,
Become
you
yeah,
hate me
exactly. Become
anyways.
Christian
I'll make
Leitner.
you hate
Literally,
me.
the era of like social media and you need brand deals, so you have to be likable. F that, and that's why I actually think Jared McCain on Duke is doing so well. Because have you seen his TikToks? I'm 2 days into college, and election. He is embracing it, and that's why he's their best player. Like I think at
Yep,
Duke, you just have to be like, yeah, I'm gonna post cringe videos, and then I'm gonna drop 25 on you. What are you
right,
gonna do about it? Like you just have to
exactly.
just make 19-year-olds with flume bars puffing in their frat basements go, that guy stinks, what a girl wimp, and just like piss them off. That's what you have to do.
Exactly. You have to embrace being the bad guy,
hmm
and you can have a
it
good career if you're
Embrace being
good
the
at the
bad
same
guys.
time. But
Speaking of not bad guys but crazy guys, let's move on to the next game in the East. The one of the Sweet 16 matchups: UConn versus San Diego State. Danny Hurley, the crazy guy. Does the crazy train continue? I think it does, but man, I think they got a real road bump in SDSU, who can. I think SDSU is a school. They're a team that can match them physically, and SDSU is going to play it slow, and
well,
it's going to be a sloppy game. And the sloppier, the better. SDSU, they're like pigs. The more mud, the better. The more mud, the
and
better.
it's so funny with the Mountain West thing. All the other fans of teams are like, "Don't talk trash if you beat uh, UAB and Yale to get to the Sweet." I'm like, okay, every one of us would be talking trash if we were in the Sweet
Yeah.
16 and all the other and it's not just that they made the national title game. Like
Every time
they,
I want to get mad at SDSU fans for like chanting and being bodacious, I just think, man, this is literally how every other fan base must feel during like football season with BSU, because then BSU could
right,
just pull the card like, yeah, but we're better and everyone actually cares about us. And it doesn't matter what anyone else says, they're wrong because everyone else in the country really does only care about BSU football, and SDSU could do the same thing for basketball. They can go, yeah, who cares?
every other team in the Mountain West football wise is that game if you go like, and it's always weird. Like if we go out on like a Friday night, right, or a Saturday night to a bar, and you're not like it's college football season, and you happen to look up at the TVs in like a sports type bar, and you see like Fresno State, Nevada, and you're like, oh, like I don't really care unless like we might because like Fresno State is good or whatever. That is what everyone across the nation thinks. They're like, okay, like that's the only game on right now. Like we're a step above like Tuesday night Maction, and I think more people probably actually watch the Maction. But yes,
I don't know, dude.
I think
Friday night Mountain West Mountain West After Dark is starting to take off. It got crazy last year. People need to
That's
hop on
fair.
Mountain West After Dark.
That
The
is fair.
Pac-12's no more. Hop on board Mountain West After Dark.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a national title rematch, and I mean, UConn has just killed everybody, so they might do it again. But I think that this might be a little closer than everyone. I'm gonna look at the line on that. It's got to be pretty high. So they play Thursday.
Yeah.
It is. UConn is a 10.5-point favorite.
Ooh, I think that is big. Unless they think UConn's gonna like St. Mary's them like they did St. Mary's last year, where they just kind of get rolling and they can't stop. But we will see. We will see. Danny Hurley, complete psychopath. So let's move on to the next game in that region. Illinois, Iowa State. Sneaky good matchup. I don't know a ton about Iowa State, although I know they play with intensity because they got that. I feel like their coach is like 32 years old.
He used to be at UNLV.
He does have some of the he has some greasy hair though. Oh boy. You see that guy's hair? It is slicked back.
Versus Brad
is
Underwood, who
slick.
is angry all the like 24/7. Brad Underwood is like furious.
I do think I got Illinois in this game. Terrence Shannon, I think is his name. Terrence Shannon Jr. Has some off the court issues, but man, he is balling out right now, man. I think he's scoring like above 20 points a game right now his last couple weeks, and I think he's going to carry them over the edge in this Iowa State game.
Yeah, I think I would pick Illinois too. Like Iowa State's been good this year, but I think Illinois has been kind of building towards getting past, like the Sweet 16 for a while now, and I think this might be the year that they could be like in 10 years when we're like looking back at like past Final Fours, we're like, oh, that's extremely random. Illinois was in the Final Four, so
yeah, that was kind of like that Texas Tech year where they made the finals, and you're like, oh, Texas Tech, all right. I guess that's like a big school. Okay, let's move to the bottom half of the bracket. North Carolina, Alabama. This is another battle of the quarter zips. North Carolina, two great color matchups. I don't know what to think about this game. I think Alabama, Nate Oates, the team gets up and down. Also, did you see what Charles Barkley said about GCU Alabama? He said it was the dumbest basketball he's ever seen played. He's like, how is GCU even a real program? They didn't run a single offensive play the entire second half. And the best thing was, my mom was saying this while we were watching. So if me and my mom are saying it, college, like actual people who know more basketball, just me and my mom, are going, what the hell is GCU doing? They're not running a play. But Alabama played them that way. But I don't know.
And
I got UNC in this. I got UNC.
I almost want Alabama just to see another Nate. Did you see the meme of him where the camera zoomed out and he was just like if you didn't see it, I'm gonna send it to you. But he just had like this crazy look on his face.
Nate Oates versus Danny Hurley would feed families.
Well, it's also
that is the psychopath matchup.
He might have had that psychopath look on his face because of that screaming banshee on the GCU.
Oh my gosh, you heard that? You heard the screaming? Yeah.
That was I had to like mute
right by
it.
the camera.
Stop.
I almost muted it. Too. I'm so glad, and no one was talking about it on Twitter either. But I
saw a couple people that were like, she needs to be ended. And then it was so bad that I was listening to Jim Rome yesterday, and he even had like a whole segment on her screaming. It was so poor GCU. They like were a Cinderella.
Not poor GCU.
But people like hate them.
They're a for-profit university in Arizona. I do not care at all about GCU. Sorry, people at GCU. I don't care about your athletics program. Let's move on to the next one. Clemson versus Arizona. Clemson, surprising. Also, snobby. I hate to bring back BSU. Every BSU fan who kept the receipts going, "Oh, I guess Clemson was a bad loss, huh? I guess it was a bad loss." And I'm like, shoot, I guess you got those people. Like, I really no one ever said it was like a bad loss. They just said it was a disappointing loss. But yeah, I think this game is going to be good. I do got Arizona. It seems like they finally got over the hump, especially in that Dayton game, where the last couple of years they've lost really bad, and that Dayton game had the chance to go really, really bad because
Yeah.
it was just close, and they won. So I think that like psyche kicks in really well for Arizona.
And
I
I
think
mean,
Caleb Love is balling out too. So I
I
got
would
Arizona.
I don't know what ticket sales are right now for the Sweet 16. I mean, sorry, the Final Four.
But if Arizona makes it
If I was an Arizona fan, I would buy my tickets now,
right
basically,
now and
because
then
you can
just sell
resell
them,
them. Yeah,
yeah.
if they end up losing. But you have your tickets right now. If you live there, you probably live in the area, so it's not like you got to fly down there or anything like that. So buy your tickets now.
Dude, yeah, Arizona Vape Bros. Arizona Vape Bros are a different breed. Arizona Bros versus NC versus North Carolina or Alabama Bros. I think I got to take the Arizona Bros. They're just a little raw. They're just a little raw. Now if they wear suits and are going at it that way, I give me my Ole Miss Bros. Um, that is one of the great. I hate to go off track. That's one of the greatest videos of all time. The Ole Miss pledge fight. We got to. This is actually just a chance for us to bring up the Ole Miss pledge fight. All time
Hey, it
video.
happens. It's in the middle of it's in Mississippi. It gets hot there. You've had a couple brews, and you just got to go at it sometimes.
It's a bad SEC game versus like South Carolina. You're up like 17 in the fourth quarter. You start to get antsy.
Heat gets to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the last region now, Midwest. Purdue versus Gonzaga. This is we have to just appreciate like Gonzaga. I hate Gonzaga, but the what Mark Hadafew's done in the last few like decades almost is incredible. He like the amount of Sweet 16s is something like 5 straight Sweet 16s. It's
Yeah,
something like a crazy amount of Sweet 16s.
and they've
Um,
gotten over that. I mean, they haven't won the title, but they have gotten over like
the choker
if
hump.
if they were where they were like 10 years ago, right now they would be the biggest Twitter meme in college basketball. Like they
Mhm.
better, and this was more
Kelly
than 5
Olynyk
years ago.
will always remember.
Kelly Olynyk, the Twitter would have broken with Adam Morrison and the crying
Yes.
meme. Which if you have not seen it, you've got to watch the. Yeah, have you seen that? His like NBA
Yeah, I
Live
cried.
commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cried.
Yeah, I cried. So
But yeah,
what? It
I
means
mean,
I cared.
right? I'm just so competitive. But yeah, they're now every year like a legit national title contender. So
Yeah, I
I
would
hope
say
they
the
don't
same.
win, but I could definitely
Yeah,
see
I also
them.
got Purdue. I got the Eadster, who also we need to talk about Zach Edey's hairline. What a great hairline that guy's got.
Yeah.
I don't know who that guy's barber is, man. That guy's fade is clean, man.
He looks like
That is an
he could be
epic
like
hairline.
it's not an extra, but like he almost looks like he would be a character, like an actor who plays a character in like Game of Thrones who like shows up and he's like the intimidating like freak of the
Yeah.
show where they're like, oh, look at him, he's 90 feet tall. Like he's basically a giant and like you have to fight him now and like you cut his arm off but it like doesn't affect it. That's what Zach
You
Edey
cut an
is.
arm off, and then a Big 12 rest blows a whistle, and then he gives Zach Edey like 2 free punches to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That is funny. All right, let's go to the last game of the Midwest region and the last game of our Sweet 16 breakdown. Creighton versus Tennessee. You had the tweet, Zooch, that said it best. Stephen Ashforth was giving me all sorts of Vietnam war-like flashbacks.
Right. I'm glad he's out of my life, even though Utah State still beat us this year, both times we played. But Creighton is another like I feel like because the Big East has UConn and they have like Patino's at St. John's, and that makes them kind of like more relevant. Marquette is like a big name school. I feel like Creighton is like kind of forgotten about, but they had a good run, had a really good run last year, and this year they've been like a sneaky like national title appearance at least pick.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm going with Creighton just because I think that
Really? Okay.
yeah, I mean they don't foul.
Well, I'm
But it's
also
like
going with Creighton because I have Creighton in my Final Four. I'm also going with Creighton. They just, I don't know. It just seems And it might be because I'm being biased because I like want my previous bracket that I did a few weeks ago to do well. But I also think they're playing well. I think showing their toughness and grit in a game against Oregon that by all means could have been an upset. By all
Yeah.
means should have been an upset. Like Oregon, like those two guys were getting every shot they wanted, and to like kind of calm down and to reset and win.
Well,
It was nice. So I also got Creighton in this one.
would you like to know a fun fact about Creighton when I was looking up stuff about them the other night? Because they are
What
truly the most. They're in Nebraska. There's like cannot be a more random school that's good at sports. And
what is the Creighton fun fact?
2 of their alumni own teams in the MLB, and it's not small teams. One of them is like the majority owner of the Chicago Cubs, and the other one is the owner of the Dodgers.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, what on earth? Like, how did these 2 dudes
I thought
also?
Magic Johnson. That is a farce. When I was younger, they made it seem like Magic Johnson owned the Dodgers, and it was super super cool. You're telling me turns out Magic Johnson owns like 2% of the Dodgers, and some
Yeah,
guy
so let
from
me look up
Creighton
the
owns most of
exact
it.
make sure.
Also, doesn't like Warren Buffett sometimes come to their games in Omaha?
Yeah, it's the weirdest.
They
So
gotta
he's
thank Doug McDermott. They gotta
yeah,
build that guy a
okay.
statue. I
So
mean,
it's Mark Walter, and he is also the owner and chairman of the LA Dodgers,
wow.
and he went
Go
to
Jays. They were going
Creighton.
Blue Jays. Blue
They
Jays.
need to get that NIL funding in there. Like 2 of your alumni own the Cubs and the
Yeah,
Dodgers. Legitimately, like 2 of the
I
top
bet.
3 or
I would
4.
I would I would hope they're doing something. If
I'm sure
not,
they are.
then they must have gotten like too many write-ups at Creighton. Some dean must have pissed them off. But yeah, that's it. For the Sweet 16 breakdowns. Zooch, last thing we're gonna do. Give me your quick final four of the teams remaining now.
Okay. I'm gonna go UConn, Arizona, Houston, Creighton.
God damn it, that's mine. Damn it, that's mine. You know, hey, I'll be I'll make it interesting. I'll go Creighton, Duke, Illinois, Arizona.
That would be hilarious. Final Four. Like you would have. I just want to see Arizona in the Final Four. It's been a long
Oh, they
time.
wouldn't. They people. You think New Mexico's bad? Also, Lobo Nation. If anyone in Lobo Nation has videos of them on Beale Street in Memphis, please send them over. We we need to see Lobo Nation. We got to love hate with Lobo Nation, and we need videos of you guys having fun in Memphis, please.
Which
But
and they got me to Jalen House. Like when
yeah,
did you?
to squirt the water bottle.
And I felt kind of bad because people were like, "Oh, how do you react that way?" And I'm like, I get that when you're like so mad,
So
you're like,
angry. It's like that. Like,
yeah, like you're like almost want to tear something up, so you just like
yeah.
put all your pressure into doing something like that. And it does make you feel better.
It just
So
had to be a little Gatorade squirty bottle. Anything else could have been better. Uh, but you heard it first, man. We got March Madness predictions. Again, thank you for everyone who signed up for that bracket. I think we ended up getting like 60 or 70 people on it, and it was great showing. So if you didn't, check it out next year because it'll probably be a similar prize. But Zooch, anything else besides thanking the people for listening?
nothing else. Always thankful to the listeners. They really are why we do this. Like if we at this point still had no listeners, it would be really, really, really hard to do. Because it's not hard to do, but you have to do a lot of planning around other stuff,
Yeah.
and it can be,
Mhm.
like there's some days you're like, oh, but we do it for everyone so they can listen to
Yeah.
us. And
Watch the clips online, however you consume the content, man. It's awesome.
exactly,
Whether you're listening to part of the show, whether you're listening to the full show, whether you're listening to the clips on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, it's great. And this we've been very appreciative over the last couple months because there has been a growth of people watching and following, and we are just appreciate the people who have just joined, people who have been with us. Thank you guys. It has been quite a ride. It's not over, but as like the the college seasons that Zooch and I cover are winding down. We're gonna have some off-season content. We'll kind of keep that. We got some stuff planned. Don't worry, we're keeping it a little secretive, but
And
we will let you guys know when it happens.
and my last thing is I heard from a little birdie that maybe a certain baseball player who normally pitches and hits, but is not pitching this year and might play for a team in California, and he also might be Japanese, is also going to watch this Final Four and make bets on it. So, I'm not going to say who it was.
Another meme that has to stop. Okay. Also, I keep doing the last thing, but did you see the free walkout? It was like the free whoever Shohei's. It was like a flyer on Twitter, and I don't know what his translator was, but it was like free blah 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 school walkout 12:30 meet in the quad. It's like, oh my god.
I would have joined that if I had been going to
No,
school.
Shohei was making bets allegedly. But I saw the video. I saw the pictures of him at the Lakers game. That man looks like he was sweating out a parlay.
Right. Hey, it's fun to do. I just hope he wasn't doing it on baseball because he might never play again if he was doing it on baseball. So
that would never play again, and it would be quite baseball. Anything else besides making fun of Shohei Ohtani?
Nope. Everyone enjoy the weekend. If you're on spring break, enjoy that and watch these college basketball games because you're gonna miss it here in a few weeks when it's all over. So
awesome. We will see you guys next week with Elite 8 and Sweet 16 breakdowns. Peace. I accidentally left